Hello, good morning, everyone. Buenos dias, mi gente. How is everyone doing today? Today I was thinking what to do, and I think it's time for this dwarf pomegranate forest that I've been growing for 6 months. I think I planted this from a mother plant that I bought that had pomegranates ready to be planted, and it was planted midwinter, maybe beginning of spring. So it's probably like 6 or 8 months. It lost its leaves twice during the summer, and it re-sprouted again twice. I fertilize it only with rabbit poop and some worm castings in the mix when I potted the seeds. And this is the end results. So today we're gonna be splitting this into two experiments. One is gonna be safer than the other one. I'm gonna be taking a clump and planting it into a colander, which is one of the methods I like to grow the trunk of the trees. We'll talk about it in a video. I'll give credit to whomever it needs to be given to. And this is gonna be the safe one, because this colander I'm also gonna plant on top of a regular deep, very rich soil. So once the roots get into the bottom of the colander, they will catch up and they will boom. I'm not gonna touch that soil too much. For the other half, I am gonna do a big experiment. I'm gonna take them out of the tray. I'm gonna clean the roots a little bit, and we're gonna be planting them into this pot that I made, that I got yesterday from my teacher. Terracotta with some pebbles that we put on top. It has like a liner that I put on top of it. I hope you guys can see it. And I wish I wouldn't have put the rocks, and it would have been only the texture. As you can see, there is a melted piece of clay that I gave her to make a stamp for me, and it kind of like melted in the kiln, but it's not gonna bother us because it's on the base of the pot. I'm also not gonna anchor wire, although this is one of the only pots that had all the draining and anchor holes not covered by glaze, because it's not glazed. And we're gonna be moving that half of the tray in kind of like a forest grouping, and hoping for the best for this one. See you guys up close, and you're gonna lose this face, but you're not gonna lose the spirit. Let's get on it. This is the mother plant. As you can see, I have it in a huge pot, and I chopped it already. I made an air layer from it, who's already rooted, and on a big pot it's really catching on now. We're re-sprouting on this one. I think I still have a pomegranate from this season. They're tiny. I'm gonna compare it to my hand. So that's why I like this one. And yeah, I just wanted to show you where I got the seeds from. This is a dwarf pomegranate, and this is an air layer of a regular pomegranate. The leaves are much bigger. This one has not fruit in 2 years that I've had it, but it's very stable. Lost its leaves once in a very big heat wave that we had here in Israel, but it's a very resilient tree to do bonsai on. So I'm very hopeful for this project. What do you think about this cutiness? At some point, this was pencil stick, just like this, when I planted it 8 months ago. Just when I did the seeds, I planted this tree, and it was pencil thick. Look at the thickness of that trunk. Look at that. So yeah, I highly recommend potting especially if you're on a roof, or you don't have soil to plant your pre-bonsais on a deep pot or a colander to enlarge the trunks. All right, I did what's called in French and cooking some mise en place, and I prepped my liner on the draining holes already. Gonna put this aside so we can start working on our clumps, and I'm gonna try to separate this so it's easier for me to just move the ones to the colander. I know I'm gonna lose 1 or 2 plants on this transplant, but I'm gonna try to keep this clump. It's not very regular, and in the process we might lose a plant or 2. I'm gonna keep these ones in the pot right now and try to take out this. Will come in handy. And we'll try to take them out as whole as possible from this styrofoam. This one is dead. The styrofoam is very irregular inside. I'm just afraid of damaging the roots, especially of the plants that are sprouting right now. They're already in a lot of stress. There are no escaping roots. I can hear them ripping from somewhere, trying to be very gentle. I'm sure they're just attached to the styrofoam. I hope you can see what's happening. Trying to scrape the bottom from all those roots that are attached to it. Trying to lift them as one, at least some clumps. I have a taproot here, which I'm gonna cut already. They're just attached. All the roots grew very flat against the styrofoam. For some reason, they did not go through the draining holes. Maybe that's why they did not develop as much. This is another one. Now, something you have to keep in mind when you're doing forest or groups of, if it's not a pair, the numbers should be uneven until you get to 21 or 23. That's what the book says. If you go by the book, then you should plant uneven numbers. You should plant as many as you have, because you should keep in mind that you're gonna lose some, and some of them are not gonna make it, or hell, all of them might not make it. But I'm trying to secure this half in the colander and doing my weird experiments with the other half. This one, you can see it's sprouting, so it's a good time for transplant. I think this is enough from these plants. I'm gonna not tease the roots too much. Except for this one. This one I'm gonna keep as is, cutting This one, that seems to be the tap root for this tree. This one I'm gonna keep as is, just so we cause the least amount of stress on the tree. I cannot stress how important it is not to stress the trees, because this is the most stressing time in their lives. Anything you do to a plant, except for a transplant, it happens natural. Even graftings, air layers, it all happens in nature. There are not occasions where a tree is dug out and replanted by itself anywhere else. So that's why plants are not very, if there is a sensitive time for a plant, it is this time of transplant. So we are doing it always on the best time for the plant. Some plants, like I'm sure the maples and trees that lose all their leaves in winter, it's a good time to plant them dormant. But as a rule, maybe I don't have maples, but as a rule, you plant, you replant, you transplant when the plant is kind of at its most amount of growth. Okay. I'm kind of just gonna place them for now. If we're gonna use this as at the front of our pot, which I think we will, because it has the most amount of pebbles attached. We're gonna try to plant this tree kind of like I'm just kind of leaving it for now. Maybe this. This clump with the smallest tree at the edge. I'm gonna lean some of the trees to the side, but try to keep sense of where the trees are growing. They usually grow in nature towards the same direction. So if you have a tree that is growing kind of not in the right direction, then maybe we'll just find a better place for it, like this one. As I can see that all the plants are leaning to the right, I hope, of the camera. I have this one that I'm gonna kind of bury to this side. This is a good one, so I'm gonna put it instead of that one. Now I'm gonna check them in a second. You're supposed to see every single trunk without too many crossings of trunks or no crossings of trunks in the background. So it's important to take a look back. I'm gonna flip it in a second. They're not really planted yet. I'm just placing them, so it's easier for me to. I'm gonna move this a little bit. We're gonna put this one on this side, and this one I'm gonna move to the front a little bit and to the right, like that. There's supposed to be an empty dead space, kind of, to give you a perspective of the forest. So I'm gonna move this one and plant it to the side here. Kind of to the side, leaving kind of like an empty space in the middle. Gonna put some soil, start moving it around with the chopsticks. As soon as temperatures go down, I'm gonna sprinkle some moss and see what happens with this forest. Moss is not very big in Israel, so I have to collect moss from places that have the drainage of the air conditioning, or they're in a forest, or I don't know, and then kind of acclimatize it to my weather conditions over here, which are hard. So I pretty much keep the moss alive during the winter time. For some of them I take it out in the summer months. For some of them I just keep it on dry, and it kinds of bounces back in winter. I'm lightly incorporating, I didn't take too much of a soil from the root bulb of each plant. So I'm sure after the first watering, it's all gonna settle on top of those roots and kind of settle the plant. You see, we didn't use any wires. I'm definitely not gonna use any wires now. Pomegranates are as fragile as they get. So maybe not as a portulacaria, but from the plants I have, which I like working with ficuses and other plants, I feel like pomegranate is one of those that I like working the tree silhouette by pruning leaves and pruning branches, and not by wiring it, because they're so snappy. They will snap on you in a second. They will snap on you like a snapping turtle. I don't know. Me and my jokes today. Me and my jokes today. So all the plants, all the seedlings have been placed in the grouping. Gonna give it a little watering, clean the table, maybe we'll prune some branches, and I'll see you in a second. All right, we cleaned up. We changed tables so I can rotate, and I thoroughly water the plants. Gonna take a little spoon. I thought it was gonna be cute. I'm gonna trace a path in the already loose soil that we have now, so it kind of makes a indentation. And on this area over here, and I'm gonna take these white rocks, kind of like gravel that I use for some of my soils, and I'm gonna very gently and carefully kind of disperse that on the top. on a thin layer, hoping that it's gonna stay a little bit. Oh my god, this is not the job for me. I'm the clumsiest. But I have an opening here. Got a rotating table, maybe just for this. Kind of like this. Maybe another rock somewhere. Like this. And now I'm gonna prune, lightly prune. I'm not gonna defoliate, because I'm pretty sure the stress of is gonna make this tree lose its leaves. I do have a trunk here that splits into 3, so I'm gonna take the middle one out. I do have a trunk. No, this one is fine. I'm just gonna cut it shorter to the inside of the forest. These shoots are fresh. I'm gonna leave them as they're gonna keep that branch alive, definitely. Gonna cut the dead ends. Dead leaves. Just so it looks a little prettier. Who else has 3 dead branches? You have a dead branch, but you have a little shooting over here, so that's good. I'm not as fearful for this one as I was with some other videos that we did. I'm kind of hopeful for this one, so looking forward. Another shoot, so I'm gonna cut right below the first upcoming shoot. And then with time, we'll just do trimmings as the plant needs it. And again, not very recommended to wire pomegranates, as they're very fragile. Oh, and they will snap on you. I have got this one, kind of this one. The trees are fairly secure. I'm gonna give them a couple of weeks or until the rains start, hopefully not with a lot of wind, and then move them outside gradually. Even if they lose their leaves, pomegranates here in Israel do lose their leaves, but they're the first one to sprout back, and they're pretty resilient in the conditions here in Israel and the Middle East. I know in Greece, Italy, pomegranates are big. So if you guys have a pomegranate seedling, dwarf pomegranate specifically, and you want to share your pictures, I would love to know what you did with them. As you saw, many other plants are gonna come out of this experiment I started today. For the video, for a current video, I think this is gonna be it. There will be follow-ups for this grouping in the near future. And yeah, what do you guys think? Let me give you a flipperoonie. as I'm doing a flipperoonie, I'm gonna cut those branches that I can see are dead or we're not gonna need. We don't have a main trunk yet. I should have maybe picked a thicker one from that clump, which I don't see many. Let's say that we are gonna wait with this tree and see which ones develop better. Hopefully one in the front, this one, is gonna develop better and it's gonna give us that main trunk that we want in a grouping in a forest. And yeah, awesome, right? All right. I put this in a little angle so you get kind of the perspective we needed for the close-up. I'm really happy with the outcome of this forest. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. I found it very amusing and experimental and not really doubtful of the outcome. I'm really hopeful for this one. I'm gonna take a little turning clip of the pot and the grouping and the forest and how it looks at the end. And that would definitely be the time for you to like and subscribe if you're not a part of our community yet. Subscriptions and likes really don't give me any money right now. I'm so far from there, but it does encourage me to do more videos, and knowing that you guys like the content makes me more excited to wake up in the morning and find some other material to do a project with, which keeps me very much motivated. So thank you guys for all the support, and I'll see you on the next project. Chao, hasta luego mi gente. Bye.